Today we're going to go with a slightly different format. Instead of talking about one topic for 10 or 15 minutes, we're going to cover several smaller ones. So if you're ready, buckle up, here we go. In a previous video, I talked about quick pay discounts. I just want to add something on that topic. When you're running a construction job, some of your material suppliers may offer you a quick pay discount. If you pay quickly, then they may deduct 1 or 2% off the bill. It has been my practice to consider those as a benefit from your financing decisions and not a job cost component. As such, you should not pass these on to your customer. They did not earn those. Your finance function earned those discounts. Now, whether you actually post the discounts to the job or to overhead does not really matter for this discussion. Just make sure to keep those to yourself. While we're on the topic of quick pay discounts, PMs have asked me if we should offer quick pay discounts to our customers. The answer is usually an emphatic no. No way, Jose. Not a chance. Normally, you should expect your customers to pay you in 30 to 45 days. In some cases, it might be a little longer. When customers, whether GCs or property owners, ask for quick pay discounts, they really just want you to take a 1 or 2% haircut. Let me show you how this math works. Suppose you have an original invoice to your customer for $10,000, and let's say they normally pay you in 42 days. The quick pay timing would have them pay you in 14 days. So that's a difference of 28 days. If the discount percentage is 2%, your customer can save $200. When you look at that in terms of an effective annual interest rate, you're looking at 26%. That's like credit card rates. What you want to do is compare the effective rate of the proposed discount plan with your actual borrowing rate with your bank. Now here's a chart that shows for a 2% discount how much is the effective interest rate based on the number of days saved. And what I mean by that is, in our example we just showed you, you're saving 28 days. You're getting cash 28 days sooner for this 2% discount. So you look on here and you see that approximately 28 days gets you to about 26%. If you're saving 40 days, it might be a 20% rate. This here is the basic formula that you could use if you wanted to calculate this for yourself. Two things you need to think about. How tight are you on cash? If you are running on fumes, you might be tempted to go with a quick pay discount, and that's your call. You also need to think about what's your interest rate on your line of credit. If your interest rate with your bank is reasonable, it would be cheaper to borrow from the bank than to accept most quick pay discount terms. If your customers tell you that if you do not offer the quick pay discount terms, they will stretch your payments out by 6 months, you need to fight back on that. I have seen that sort of bullying tactic before. You need to be firm that if you are not paid timely, you will pull off the job and you will lien the job. You should make sure your actions are protected by the terms of your contract. Do not sign off on a contract with terrible payment terms. Sometimes GCs will often use a website billing tool such as Textera. These tools can be very beneficial in that you can reduce your paperwork and your manual tracking. But the software will allow a GC to sort of sneak in quick pay terms if you are not paying attention. If you are using one of these web payment tools, make sure you discuss these issues with your billing staff. Do not be caught off guard. A lot of jobs are subject to pay when paid terms. If you are billing the general contractor and they bill the building owner, you will get paid after the GC gets paid from the owner. This helps to ensure that the GC is not acting like a bank and funding the project. A subcontractor can also have these terms with their subs. The lower you are on the totem pole, the slower it is for you to get paid. It sucks, but that's just a part of business. Now, some contractors try to stuff pay if paid clauses in their contracts. What's the difference? Under this process, if the GC never gets paid from the owner for whatever reason, the GC will never pay the subs. The reason for the non-payment may have nothing to do with your work on the job. Doesn't matter. You could get punished. On the bright side, several states do not enforce pay if paid terms. You should check to see how your state views these terms. If there are ambiguities in the contract, that could nullify the if part of the pay if paid terms. For example, suppose the contract between the GC and the building owner explicitly states that payment terms are 30 days. But the GC puts pay if paid terms in the contract between the GC and the sub. It is common for the GC subcontractor contract to state that everyone is held to the rules within the primary contract, the one between the GC and the owner. This creates an ambiguity. Do the payment terms for the prime contract overrule the pay if paid terms that are in the subcontract? The safest thing to do is to not sign contracts that have pay if paid terms. It may not be enforceable, but you may have to lawyer up in order to defend your rights. It is better to avoid the problem to begin with. When you set up your contract, you may establish different markups for different classes of costs. For instance, you may be able to mark up your subs 5%, your labor 5%, your materials 15%, and your vehicles 100%. As you move through the course of the job, the cost patterns for each class of cost are probably going to be very different. Where this can be tricky is when, as the project manager, you are asked to predict what the final bills are going to be. If your final costs exactly match up with your budget, you are safe. But if you have variances, either positive or negative, it could change the outcome. Take a look at this example. We have different markups for the different classes of costs. After 4 months, we have incurred $850,000 in costs. Based on our specific markup rules, we have earned $929,000 job to date. This is an average markup of 9.3%. Based on your initial budget, you expect the final cost to be $1,675,000 and the average markup to be 10.22%. If you assume that you were going to hit the cost budget, you might be tempted to estimate that the remaining cost will be $824,500. Also, you might assume that you will earn $908,796 in additional revenue. But let's say your vehicle and material costs are running high, and you are able to bill for these. You have not reached the cap in your billing. The actual revenue earned during the second half of the job would be $946,025, not the $908,796. This is a difference of $37,229. If you gave an incorrect projection to the GC or building owner, you might have just capped your revenue to that incorrect estimate. What should you do instead? Plan out the costs that are remaining, given that there might be overages. Apply the appropriate markup to each class of estimated cost. Use this as your projected revenue. Do not use an overall markup for the estimate or the average markup earned job to date. Both of those would not be right. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You, as the PM, are reviewing your costs for billing purposes. In order to pump up this month's bills, you stuff in there the labor cost for one additional week. the labor cost that would naturally fall into the next progress billing. You get the invoice out the door and you feel successful. Then when you get to billing time for the next month, you do this all over again. Your goal is to pump up the billings as much as possible. Is this helpful? Usually the answer is no. This is how it looks. Suppose this here represents your weekly payrolls for each month. In the first month, you would normally have $2,000 worth of payroll. But you decide to move the first payroll from the next month into this month's billings. So that's an additional $1,500. Great. So when you get to month 2 and you look at the payroll for that month, you would normally have $6,000 of payroll. But you've already billed that first $1,500, so you have to subtract that out. But you want to pump up your billing as much as possible, so you take the next payroll, which is $2,000, and you put that on this invoice. And the process continues for most of the job. Down here you can see we have the net changes from all of this addition and subtraction that has happened during the life of the job. And you see it's not very much. If you are hoping to save interest on your line of credit with the improved cash flow, guess what? You won't. This change is so small. Usually, if you are jumping hoops internally to make this happen, you are at risk of increasing your accounting cost. You are at risk of causing a delay in the billing if you make the accountant redo the bill in order to add in one more payroll. You also run the risk of making errors in the bills. Your customer will not appreciate this and you will look bad. My advice is do not bother doing this. If your GC is telling you to do this, talk them out of it. Show them some numbers like what I am showing to you. It is a practice that should be stopped. In a couple of previous videos, I talked about overbilling. If you need a refresher, go ahead and watch those videos now. Here are a couple of additional ideas on that topic. See what your accounting records indicate is your progress on the job. Compare that with what you actually believe to be your progress on the job. When you can, use the higher of the two for your billing purposes. When you order a large amount of materials for this job specifically, bill your customer right away. You might need to incorporate language in your contract that will support this or allow this. If your contract does not address billing requirements, consider billing for just slightly more than the actual progress on the job. If you get too greedy, you may actually delay payments. So be careful. Remember, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. I hope this has been helpful. Let me know in the comments if there are any questions or any specific topics you would like me to cover. And until next time, have a good day.